For this exercise or tutorial, I'm going to show you how to set up and prepare multiple copies of your photo. I'll be using an example one, and you're more than welcome to download it from My Course Connection and work through this exercise once with this photograph before utilizing a personal photograph of you, which would be then your self-portrait. It is called Susan Camera, and it is on My Course Connection. You can download that. And to get started here, we're going to go ahead and load that image. So if you go to File, Open, make sure that when you download it, either you know it's in your downloads, or if you move it somewhere else, you know where it is. Susan Camera. And we're going to open. Just take a second here. Now, right now, we're not going to worry about any color corrections at this point, but we do want to take a look at the size of our image and prepare to crop it to a 3.5 by 5 inches. And we'll do this in a couple steps, but by bringing it down to this size, that'll allow us to make 3 more copies and get 4 images on one page. That is a printable page size that we'd be able to print out in an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So our habit should always be going to image size. Let's check that out. And it'll tell us that this image is actually about 6.6 by 10 inches. It's got a nice high resolution on that. We're just checking the original size. I'm just taking you through the good habit steps here. We're not changing anything here, but we are now going to use our selection tool, the rectangular marquee tool. And when I click on that, I get a set of options up here. And under style, instead of normal, which would allow me to make whatever kind of rectangle shape, or if I held shift key down, it keeps me at a square. I don't want that. Control D deselects that. But I'm going to go here to the style called a fixed ratio. And with that, I'm going to be able to now manipulate my width, which I want to set at 3.5, and my height, which will then be 5 inches. Now, when I do that, when I click and drag for my rectangle, it is going to always keep it at those proportions, not necessarily those inches, but those proportions, 3.5 to 5 inches in the width to the height. And I'll set my parameter where I think I want it, and then remember, as long as I'm still in my selection tool, I can move that bounding box of my selection around. I basically kind of want to get a little bit of this background and maybe even a little bit more down here under her shoulder. So I'll deselect and then actually click and drag to get a little bit bigger one. And again, I can kind of shift and move that around as I need to till I get something a little more what I want to work with. And I think I'm pretty pleased with this. Well, actually, I'm going to bring it in just a little bit more. How about that? All right. So once I have set this and set my selection area, I can use my arrow keys if I needed to kind of shift my bounding box a little bit. But now with this selection, I can actually go up to my image menu and then down to crop. I could have used my crop tool, but this allows me to set it at a true fixed ratio that will work with the page that we will use. Now, with this, it's now cropped down to this proportion. We're going to go to the image size selection here menu and resize it so that it is approximately 3.5 by 5 inches. Now these are constrained or locked together, so if I change my width, I am pretty darn close to 5 in the height, and I'm going to go ahead and go with that and click OK. So now I have cropped it to the dimensions or the proportions I wanted, and I just changed it in the image size to what I want. Now that I've made this, I'm going to go ahead and do a save right now. I'm going to do a save as, so I leave my original Susan camera file as it was, and then I'm just going to call this portrait. But remember, you could be doing this with your portrait. And I'm going to change it to a Photoshop format or type, and that will usually be the top of your list, Photoshop. And click Save. So now I have it saved. Now our next step in preparing our artwork is to go ahead and set it up as with a larger canvas to bring it up to the size of a printable page. We now want to add that canvas, so we'll make room for our multiple copies. We'll make the document a full 8 by 10 inches. So we want to make sure first our default colors of black and white are set as our foreground, and you can do that by hitting this little tiny icon here. It makes it black and white, and you want the white as the background right now. Now we're going to go to our image menu down to canvas size this time, and we will type in a width of 8 and a height of 10. Now we practiced this one other time in another tutorial, but this time I want to show you how we can anchor our original artwork here up into the left-hand corner, and so our canvas will add to the right, to below the original artwork and over to the lower right. I can always set my canvas extension color. In this case, it might be on background or our default, which we want it white. But I could change it to my foreground or some other basic ones, or even go pick the color. But right now we're going to go with the background, and once I have these set, I'm going to select OK. Now you can see that more canvas was added. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out so I can see this. There we go. And at this point we have done that. Now we're going to double click on our background here in the layers palette and open up the dialog box and change the name to the master photo. And right now we're going to click OK and just turn it into a normal layer, and this way we'll have more freedom later in that we'll be able to overlap our imagery should we choose to, or the artwork then has somewhat of a more neutral background. So I'm going to click OK. And you'll notice it took the lock off of that background. Now, we're going to clear out a little bit of our background space real quick by using some of our other selection tools for practice. We're going to pick the magic wand, which will be our fourth one down here. Maybe it's buried, the magic wand. And we're going to select an area outside of the face. So right over here, and our tolerance, go ahead and set that at 32 in case it wasn't already there. And we're going to go ahead and just select add to our selections. But right now I'm just going to hit this kind of yellow area. And if I needed to add more, I could click, but we'll just stick here, experiment with the tolerance bar if we needed to. But once we have this selected, we are going to go ahead and delete that. And it deleted it to a transparent. This little checkerboard means there's no color assigned there yet. So it's transparent. Now we want to go ahead and get rid of our white background over here. And actually I'm going to click away from everything. Now when I click on the white, notice that it takes it up to the edge of those pixels and just picks the white. I'm going to go ahead and delete that as well. And then that way I have clear areas back here. All right. And I can click away or use my keyboard Control D to deselect. Okay, we're going to move our copy in a little bit from our corner here. I'm going to use the Move tool, which is this one up here, the top of the list. Has the little crosshair arrows with the point. Now, because this layer has been changed to transparent, when I click and begin to drag, I'm going to click everything on, or grab everything, all pixels on that layer and wind up moving them. I'm just kind of shuffling it in a little bit so it's off of that corner. Now then, I can use my rectangular marquee tool, and this time I'm just going to get a little bit outside of the image and drag around that. By doing that, even though there's no pixels here, I'm sure to get all the pixels of the colored area of my imagery. And from here, we're going to go ahead and make a copy. We can do it several ways. Edit, copy from the menu up above, copy, and then I can go to edit, paste. And when I paste, two things happened. One, it pasted it completely on a new layer, and this time it did put it almost right on top of the original one. So I'm going to use my move tool. I'm on layer number 1, and I'm going to move this over. Okay. Now I want to show you another way of making a selection. We're going to go ahead and select again. If I can get it, there we are. But on this case, I am on layer 1 and I've set my selection box over here to the left. In fact, if I turn off this master photo, my selection bounding box on layer 1 honestly has no pixels selected. So I need to make sure if that's the one I want to select, I need to go down to master photo. So you really always have to be paying attention to what layer you are on. If you're experiencing any problems with Photoshop, most likely you are on a layer that doesn't have pixels in it. So let's make another copy here real quick before we run out of time. We can use our keyboard shortcut. Control copy, Control V, and there it pasted another one. This time it put layer 2. We'll always put the newest layer right above the last layer I was on. I'm going to use my move tool, and I'm going to go ahead and move this one on down. If I go to my master photo, I can actually move that one up a little bit if I need to. Now I'm going to go to layer 1, and this time I'm going to make my selection over here. There we go. And with this one, I'm going to show you the third way to actually make a copy, and that is if I use my move tool as if I was going to move this and hold down my Alt key, just like we did in Illustrator. When holding down the Alt key, notice I get my double arrow, and when I click to drag, when I have a double arrow, that means I am going to drag a copy. So I'm just going to bring this on down and get it to where I want it and drop it. And now it has made that copy, but it actually kept it on layer 1. Maybe I want that, maybe I don't. We can continue to move that if I wanted to make sure I got off of that imagery real quick. And if I like where I have moved it, I can double click to deselect, or Control D to deselect. Now while on this one, I can actually shift and move that up and play around. So when I use my move with the Alt, it will make the copy, but it keeps it on the same layer, which honestly I really didn't want to keep them on the same layer. I want to do these all differently. So I can select this one. Oops. Make sure I get all the way out to the right-hand corner, and I can delete it. All right. And then up here, or if you realize that the last thing I copied was this image, and so if I do another Control Paste, that image is still on my keyboard. I'm sorry, my clipboard, and so I just paste a new copy of that. So now I have my 4th copy down here. Got 4 copies. At this point, go ahead and save your file, and we will pick up with the next tutorial on having some fun with this imagery in experimenting and exploring our different adjustments, filters, colors, and things like that. All right.